I want to welcome everybody to Lean on Me radio and podcast. This is being recorded, so everyone please keep your mics muted until it's time to ask questions. So today we have Shellrae, who is a veteran and disabled, and we are going to talk a little bit about how she handles, her disabilities and if she suffers from any depression from it or anxiety or anything like that. And right now, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself, Shellrae.
Hello, everybody. So I'm here, and I'm happy to be here. I'm glad that Rita, that you asked me to come on board. And yep, I am a disabled Army veteran. I try to keep myself busy, but I live a life of extreme pain and many appointments. And trying to fit in fitness and health with that is very difficult. But I'm very glad to be here, and I'm happy to answer anything that Rita has on the table to ask me.
Well, thank you, Shellrae. And let's go ahead and start with this. What are some of your physical limitations and what causes them?
I have a extremely rare disease. It's 1 in a million. It might even be more rare than that at this point because we've had a lot of people die from it. A very rare neurological condition called stiff person syndrome. And I know that sounds funny. The correct name for it is actually Morsch-Woltman disease, but it goes by stiff person syndrome or stiff man syndrome in all the ICD-9 things for medical purposes. So if one was to look that up, they would find that what it entails is a spasming and stiffening of the muscles, which even includes the heart, to the point of breaking bone. So what happens is the muscles get very rigid, spasm, go out of control. I have to be on muscle relaxers. And I've had shoulders pop out of the socket. I have metal all throughout my body because of this. I also have a number of other conditions besides the stiff person syndrome, but it is the main culprit, and it causes extreme pain through your entire body because you have muscles everywhere. Everything is a muscle. So it's rough. It's an extremely rough condition. You never know when or where you're going to be when you have a very severe attack, and you never know what muscle group that attack is going to be. So that's the main thing.
Wow. Well, I've known you for quite a while. I'd say almost a year now, or maybe a year. Met you on Clapper, and I never even knew that. So with that, I know you do a lot of running
Mm-hmm.
and physical exercise. So how do you push yourself to do that and not be in fear of whether or not something is going to happen?
Well, I am always in fear, but what happened was I actually, through the National Organization of Rare Diseases, was introduced to a man named Shane James. And if you look him up on YouTube, you will see his story. And he has stiff person syndrome, and he lives in Australia. And his cure for it was running. And the reason that he prescribed running was because running uses every single muscle group you have, from your heart all the way down to your toes. And with that, when you push yourself, you wear out your muscles before they can wear you out. And I have found that during times when I have taken breaks, that it gets so much worse. So once I started running, it just became better. I'll put it that way. I was going through a whole lot of different things when I first started, like um, IV immunoglobulin treatments. Every month I'd have to go to the hospital and have healthy blood cells put in, into my body so that I could recuperate because my body was just in such so wrecked. And then I began running, and I never knew that I could even get through the first race. And I have on my YouTube, there's videos that show me going to my very first race ever. And it was just a 1 mile thing. And I could not even run a mile. And I'm sitting in the car with my husband saying, I can't even run a mile, but I'm going to go to this. And I'm scared to death I'm going to fall. But if I do, I do. And during that race, I was actually tripped by a little girl, and I skinned my knee all the way down to the bone. And it was horrible to get back up, but I got back up and I finished. And I finished only a few seconds behind somebody who actually won a medal. And so that lit a fire in me. And the very next weekend, I ran my first 5K. And it just went on after that. Of course, I had a lot of metal added to my body since then, which has made things very, very hard. And I can't say that it's easy. It takes a lot of mental fortitude to even get out there at all.
Right. I know you're a very, very strong woman just from the time I've known you. And in saying that, um, you and I have both been extremely overweight. And I know it's a hard thing to talk about because it is for me, but you have gone from obese to beast and you have that mentality. And I love that hashtag that you made, by the way. Shellrae does use a hashtag called obese to beast. And if y'all would, please take it into consideration to use yourself if you do an exercise routine or anything. So what I want to ask you now is, since you are extremely overweight, and I know that being overweight for me has caused me a lot of depression and anxiety and different things like that, and I'm sure it did for you as well. Um, but what I want to ask you now is, what made you decide it was time to lose weight, and how did you do it?
Oh, it was horrible. I know that you probably understand that feeling of being swallowed, being so uncomfortable in your skin that you can't tolerate yourself at all. And for me, it was like a lot of swelling and things. My daughter and I took a trip back to my home in Delaware. And during the middle of the trip, we stopped. I was going to drive straight through, but we stopped to stay the night somewhere. And my feet were so wide. I took a picture of them. They did not look like my feet. I did not feel like myself at all. And shortly after, I took a trip to Palm Springs. I was selling candles for this company, and we had a convention there. And when I was there, I was sitting poolside and on a chair. The chair broke, and I fell into the pool with all of my clothes on in front of everyone. For me, that was it. When I got back, I made calls. And a lot of people were very against me getting it. You'd be surprised. The people that come out of the woodwork were so against me getting bariatric surgery. And I could not figure out why they would not be supportive. But people want you to eat with them so that they have excuses in order to eat more themselves. They don't want to have to watch someone lose weight because they're not losing weight. So it becomes really difficult whenever you go through a bariatric surgery. So I was 250 pounds and I went all the way down to 104 at my lowest. So yeah, and the anxiety, it, it was it was so bad. It was so bad. I used my weight as a buffer to the world. I knew that I ate because of pain. I'm a pain eater. So like if I'm in bad pain, which I always am, I would always be eating and I would always be dieting. So I'd always lose a lot of weight and then I'd go on the next, I'd be on the next diet and then the next diet. I literally tried every single diet. Nothing worked for me. And so there we have it. I mean, I had no option. I had gastric bypass and I am blessed that I did it.
That is awesome. And whatever works for a person, that's the way I look at it. I wouldn't do it myself. I don't think it would work for me. I do know that even with that type of surgery, you can push past it. That band can break. I've known people who have done it, so you still have to have that mentality
Mhm.
to limit yourself. And my curiosity is, how were you able to do that?
Well, I had actually standard gastric bypass, so there's no bands or anything. My intestines and all that are rerouted, and my stomach was made about to a size of a golf ball, I would say. But you can push past it. You can learn to eat what is known as slider foods, which basically anything greasy and stuff can just float right past, your little stomach and go right on through. So you can learn to, it can stretch, it can do all kinds of things. Keeping track of your weight is always important. And I am at this point overweight and I'm working on that. And there's a couple of things that, I mean, I'm in my 11th year past surgery. And at this point, the majority of people have gained back, not like what I've gained back, but a significant amount of weight, like a load of weight. And some are the same size that they used to be. And at after a gastric bypass, there's really not much you can do if you've gained back all of your weight other than cut back your portions. Because, I mean, it's hard to do. And when people are eating all around you, you want to eat as well. I don't eat a lot of meat. Right now, I'm on a smooth and liquid diet because I just had some more stomach surgery done. I've had to have a few things done. Um, but it it can be rough. It can be rough. And if you don't keep your eye on that scale, you'll find yourself right back where you were.
Right. And exercise is important too, and drinking water,
Yes.
of course.
Yes. If I didn't exercise, I definitely would be near back to where I was. I can guarantee you.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I gained weight during the pandemic and everything. Not a lot, but enough to make me feel uncomfortable. I don't feel like me anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
I know that feeling. I know what it's like. And I really, really do have to watch myself as well. And I'm a chocolate lover. So, just one of those
Oh,
things.
same. I love chocolate.
Yeah. Um, so you and I both love to garden. Okay. So I'm going to get into that aspect a little bit. I know you love eating healthy and you do gardening, but your style of gardening is a little bit different. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, and luckily you have one as well. The the aeroponic tower gardening is amazing because I'm not the type of person who likes to get my hands dirty. I don't have the type of yard that will support any sort of garden life without me spending a fortune on a raised bed that may or may not produce vegetables, and I can grow year round right inside my house. So I grow all kinds of things right inside my dining room. I eat from my tower year round. I start the seeds, I grow them, and it's kind of like having a child. And just watching it blossom, the beauty of it, plus the natural sunlight it brings to my home, I absolutely adore it. So the vegetables are nothing but air and water, which makes them amazing because they're pesticide free. They don't have all those growth hormones and things in them to keep them super green or any of that. It's just all natural, and I adore that.
Right. I love the fact with mine that I can just set the timer, put the nutrients in it. Every once in a while you have to test the water, of course, to make sure everything is good. And you just leave it alone. You
Mm-hmm.
know, in the house, of course, you have to mist it. But if it's outside, most of the time the rain will take care of that. And
Mm-hmm.
mine is sitting outside right now. And in the wintertime, I bring it in. And of course, I've got the grandchildren, and I've told you that story of how the youngest has totally destroyed mine a couple of times. But this time she's leaving it alone, and it's growing. I'm going to have to take some videos so you can see. I'm really excited about it. Um, so let's see. Oh, I know what I wanted to ask you. We were talking prior to this, and I also know that you do a backpack program as well as you help the veterans. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that, and maybe you can describe what you do and how you are funded for this and where everything goes and what it goes to.
Well, what I do is any earnings that I make off of Clapper or through Cash App or any of those things, they all go to this backpack program that I do for homeless and veterans. Mostly it's homeless veterans or people on the side of the road who have nothing. And I can tell the difference between those that are just panhandling and those that really need something. But get a backpack and they are filled with all kinds of body care needs, health care needs, food, beverages, um, I even have some sewing kits and first aid kits and just all kinds of little things, toothbrushes, anything I can get my hands on at a value that I can spread throughout these backpacks to keep people clean and healthy when they're living on the street. I do. I mean, they have a blanket in them, and the blankets have been the one of the most important things. I need to get umbrellas to put in them because the rain can really it can really make a person sick. So I take all of my earnings from any lives or any support, and that's what funds this. And I keep the backpacks in my Bronco, and anytime my husband or myself sees someone in need, they get the backpack. And I also, through my Daily Bread Live, take earnings from that. And that is separated special because that goes to obtaining Bibles from the Goodwill or anywhere I can find them and putting Bibles in those backpacks for people to read because that is super important to me.
Um, okay, I just had everybody come home, which I knew that was going to happen, but that's okay. So, the other question I want to ask you before we close is I know you're on Clapper and I know you do a lot on Clapper. Um, but I guess what is it about Clapper that is so attractive and why do you stay there?
I stay there because of the community and because it's just easy going for me. I'm on other apps. I don't do much on TikTok because I'm really just not into all the little things that you do there, the trends and stuff like that. I just want to tell my story as I do things in my life. And it's more for recording for myself than anything. If something was to happen to me, my family could look back and see all the videos of the last few years of my life of every single day. And it's all organic stuff. It's nothing that's a repurposed video. It's me. And it's the same if I post to YouTube or to Instagram's a little different. Sometimes it's just a picture or something. But Clapper, I've met people that I'll be friends with for the rest of my days. And that was because we started out when it was new. And now it's gotten so much bigger that I don't know a lot of people, but it was so nice in the beginning when I knew every single person on the app and to watch them get their blue checks and to watch them grow and to make friends. And now there's just so many, I can't keep up with any of that stuff.
Right, I understand. That's exactly why I stay there, and the friendships I built are important to me, and I don't see that really on any other platform other than Clapper, and I think that's why I stay, and what actually drew me to Clapper is the community. Um, I know that on Facebook and Instagram, I do have friends, okay, don't get me wrong, but most of them are on Clapper. And the friends that I do have on Facebook and Instagram are like people that I actually have met in person, and it's really, it's the same, but it's not the same, because like you, for instance, Shellrae, I would love to meet you in person, but we live miles from each other. And that's another thing I like about Clapper is how they bring people together.
Hmm.
And we have these meetups and different things like that. Have you actually been to any of the meetups as of yet?
No, but I plan to do one here in St. Louis in June, and just a 1 day thing, not a big event, like just 1 day thing, going to a restaurant or somewhere like that. Everybody meet up, have a meal, have a little fun, and that's it. I mean, I've considered it either being the zoo, um, the Arch in a casino, or something just like Dave and Buster's, where everybody kind of just sits down and has a dinner and then goes plays games and has fun. And I think that people might come for just just a day, an evening, whatever. And because there's people around here, they can drive a few miles. But yeah, I'm going to go to Tennessee. I'll be at Nashville. I will be at Nashville, but I am like you. My friends and family are on Facebook and Instagram and Clapper. I don't really have any of my real life people on there at all. My daughter was on for a time, but that was very brief. No one else. So it seems kind of private to me. And I like that. And I don't know, it's not like I have secrets from the world, but I feel like it's my own app sometimes. Like, I don't mean that as I own the app. I mean, it's kind of private. My friendships are private on there. Like, I don't have to worry about sharing my friendship with you, Rita, with my mom, even though I would. It's the different dynamic, if that makes any sense.
Right, it does. It does. It makes a whole lot of sense. And, I wanted to keep this interview kind of short. And I guess we've been going for maybe 15 or 20 minutes.
Hmm.
But I'm just wondering, I'd like to get you back at a later date. We can discuss that and talk more in depth about your service time and different things like that. But I guess with ending, I want to ask you if there's anything that you have to add, anything that maybe I've missed.
No, we have so much that we can talk about in the next run. We could go into so many different avenues as far as, you were talking about in the beginning. If I have depression, yes, I have to battle depression, and that's part of my PTSD. I've exercise and happy things, and keeping up with correct medicines for my condition and things like that help. But there are times when I slip into that depression. I did not too long ago. Matter of fact, a few days ago, it came out of nowhere, and it can come out of nowhere. And so we could do a whole nother thing just on that, and that ties in with my service time stories and things. So um, I think that at another time we can definitely delve into so many more things, and I'll answer anything that you have for me. So I don't have a problem. Nothing's off limits.
Thank you, and I agree. Yes, we could get into so much more. Well, I'm going to thank you for coming today. I really appreciate you. And with just getting started out, this is just my second interview. And there's going to be some little bumps in the road. It's expected. Not looking for perfection, just progress. But anyway, thank you for being here today. And hopefully, within the very near future, we can get together again. And I just want to let you know how much I appreciate you.
Oh, I
So,
appreciate you too, and I'm sure that we're going to meet in real life as well. Because at some point I'll take my tail down to Texas.
I would absolutely love that. And thank you, everyone, for joining us today.